Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. So I'm in the, I think the upper left corner this time, in case you didn't notice my image, because I'm going to run something that kind of needs to show the bottom right. Let's see, who all is in? David Kent, Michael Fontaine, Angels Don't Fall, Futuristic, Art Generica, Raven Hawk, Good Eve, Shari D, welcome, welcome. David Kent, I think I have you. Mandani Mall. All right, I didn't really have time to read all of your stuff, so I'm not sure what you guys are all chit-chatting about, but so I just have like one thing that's sort of like a media manipulation kind of story, and then we'll move on to the Mandela effect stuff. So it won't be too much non-Mandela, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys like some of the stuff I'm seeing. And this is not meant to be political. I actually really don't care what side they're pushing. The point is that there's something fishy about the whole story and the video here. Now, to my knowledge, this has not been picked apart by anybody, but it's sort of indicative of a lot of the stuff I'm seeing. So I ran into this. Ocean Shores man attacked after confronting men for not wearing masks. Okay, so the general storyline here is this guy claims that he confronted two people in a store for not wearing a mask. And they had a heated exchange, and then he left and they left, and that he went over to their car, and they were in their car, and he went over there and exchanged words with him. Now his story is that he just went over them to explain the science. He's like playing Mr. Innocent. He didn't go over there to yell at him or have a big cat fight, which seems much more likely. I mean, you don't really stomp up to somebody's car to be nice to them, especially after you've already had an argument in the store. So, but only have his side of the story, which is highly fishy. But what was, there was a couple red flags. Well, there was a couple things that I thought was strange. First, he's supposed to be this really pro-masker dude, but then they're interviewing him. He has this scaggy, stained mask on. I just don't usually see old skanky masks on anybody unless they're not into the mask thing and they're just slapping it on for a minute to get in the store. So I thought that was a little weird. Another thing interesting is this guy's an ex-Marine. He claims that he didn't even throw a single punch, and then he was a poor little innocent victim the whole time, which seems a little weird. Let me find that. Okay, so on 212 shows his, there, boink. Okay, so that's him as a Marine. It doesn't look like he's, it was that long ago. So they didn't really show him, like his clothes are all baggy and he has a beard now, so you can't really tell, but he looks like he's in pretty good shape. Okay, so those are kind of things that kind of got my ear, because a lot of this strange stuff is happening with like ex-military. Then I saw his name. His name is Daniel Troublefield. And I just had to laugh at that, because a lot of these characters we're seeing have like strange last names that are strangely related to what's going on. So I had to laugh at that. But this is the one that really got me, is there's two videos. So his storyline is he confronted him in the store, and then when he was coming out of the store, they were making fun of him out of their car, so he walked past his car and went over to them. Okay, so there's only supposed to be one incident where he walks past his car and over to them. Okay, making sure you can hear me and everything. And now I've been talking on for an hour. All right. So then I look at the video, except for, I swear there's two videos. The two videos don't match. There's only supposed to be one video where he walks over to his car. All right, so at 50 minutes, blink, there. All right. Now this is why I'm up here instead of down here. So he's gonna, this is his car. Please observe that there is nothing apparently over here. He's gonna walk past his car, and he's not even going to pause at his car. It's clear that he's stomping straight over to their car, which is supposedly over here, not far away. Now, the first thing you'll notice is this video is the worst possible quality of video I have ever seen in my life. Literally 30 years ago video probably would have been better quality than this, because although the old video was choppy, at least frame by frame, you could see it. It just had a lower frame rate. So I was talking to my friend who does work with video, and he feels that these wavy lines and stuff in here are actually indicative of somebody putting a screen over the front of the camera to blur it, and it would cause the camera to have trouble focusing, because I literally can't imagine anybody putting a video camera of this poor quality in anywhere, literally taken by a potato. Okay, so he walks past, and you will see there's nothing over here. So that's video 1 that I want to show you. Okay, he's already over to here, so I'm going to back it up a little so you can see. All right, so here he is walking. He goes past his car here. You can see his shadow there, but that's it. There's nothing here. He just walks past it. Okay. So that's video 1. Now this next video is supposed to be the same video. So when he's doing this video, supposedly this is playing on a screen here, and he is taking video of what's on the screen. That doesn't account for the horrid quality. It might degrade it a little, but so the angle might be a little different because it depends on where he holds his camera, but it's supposed to be the same video that he is now taking video of. So one thing that this does is when he's taking video of a video, and then he gives this video to Cairo 7 News, he totally removes any tampering they may have done. They won't be able to find, because whatever tampering they did would be on the first video. Then when he takes video of the video, there's no way for them to find any tampering or anything. So I thought that was interesting. All right, so we see that there is nothing here. Now we go to 112. Let me go back a little. Okay, so he is here. Now we see something here. This is the same supposedly video, but now instead of being all white, it's supposed to be the same video. There's something here. Now you will see that when he walks past here, first of all, there's not a shadow on the car like there was the first time. The second thing is that when he walks past here, this object turns out to be a person who gets up and follows him. Now, there's nowhere in his story that anybody follows him. This is his car right here, so one would assume that anybody sitting near his car would be a friend of his. He doesn't stop and look back or argue or anything. He just keeps walking, and this guy gets up and follows him. Now, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but in case you are interested in checking it out for yourself, it's Cairo7.com news, and the title is Ocean Shore's Man Attacked After Confronting Men for Not Wearing Masks. If you type that stuff into a Google, you will find it. All right, so that guy walks past. That's him. This guy gets up and follows him. Now, I don't know how well you can really see it, but if you watch it yourself, it's pretty clear that somebody gets up and follows him. And yet, it's obviously not the same video. So this guy is totally lying, or I don't know what the deal is, but it seems pretty obvious that that video was made crappy on purpose. So later he claims that, see if I can find it, that they fight. So here's the car. They've walked past. I don't know where the other vehicle is supposed to be, but already they're back in the camera fighting. I thought that was kind of interesting too. They managed to get back into the camera. So this is supposed to be fighting. You can't tell anything with the video of the fighting. You can't tell if Casper the Friendly Ghost was there fighting. I mean, you literally is the worst video in the entire universe. So I believe that this is faked. First, most of it got into the video camera. There's only one of them. There's supposedly only one video, but there's clearly two. The video is absolutely hideous quality. So either this guy faked it, or it might be Cairo 7 wanted their own video. You know, they say they have an exclusive. I don't know what's up. Or the military did it, but whatever happened, there's fake video here, and the story is not plausible. So that's just what I wanted to say. And I'm not saying that this only happens for pro-mask people, but it seems like anything to stir up an argument, a fight, that the news is pushing that. So I just wanted to show you guys, because this is not even that exciting a story, but I believe that it is faked. All right, so that's my end of the stories. None of their stories make sense. You know, and that's the thing. I'm like, if the FBI made this up, are they that like sloppy? That's why I'm wondering if it's like either the timeline wants us to see that something is wrong and see it, or the, because I can't imagine like the FBI actually doing that bad a job. I really can't. I could see maybe Cairo 7 or this dude doing that bad a job. Just reading you guys. I have a Cat 56 FLIR phone. It also has an air quality sensor and laser for distance measuring. The alarm goes off if you put it in the mask and breathe. Angels don't fall. Actually, I have a Mandela effect that has to do with the carbon dioxide that I'm going to... That's changed in the last week. I actually got a little carbon dioxide meter, and it wasn't specifically to go under the mask. It was actually because my truck is very tightly sealed, my new one, and I sleep in it overnight when I'm camping, and I wanted to see if I was having too much carbon dioxide buildup. So that's why I bought it, and it's not a really expensive one, but it does seem to be accurate. This is propaganda like Nazi times. Yeah, I just, whatever's on the news now, just be very suspicious whenever you see any kind of fight. Especially like this one, there's just one guy, and all the claims are from this one guy, and the news doesn't question any of it, you know. They just, and he says this and he says that. They never say, well, that seems kind of strange, you know. So very easy to fake. One guy in a grocery store causing a problem, they could just hire somebody, an actor, throw him $200 and have him do that. And somebody else with the cell phone camera, and then they get thousands and thousands of dollars selling that footage to various venues. So even if it's even small time, the amount of money that they could get just by faking one video, they can make a lot. So it could just be that simple, or it could be more complex. I really don't know, but I'll tell you one thing: the news is not vetting anything anymore. They don't make phone calls. They don't check. You can basically just say anything. You know, this happened. Oh, really? Wow, great story. There's fishy stories like that all over the world. Yes, there very much is two sides of a story. Yeah, even if I didn't have the fishy video, his story sounds very... So he says these two beat him up and then they drove off. But, yeah. I just can't believe that they... doesn't make it sound a little more realistic, you know? I mean, they could say, like, they just jumped me after I left or something. That even would sound a little bit better than him going up to their car to explain science. Okay, so anyways, you know what? Since I've been talking about the OSHA stuff, I will go right to it. Okay, so I bought this meter thing, and it measures carbon dioxide in the air, so I could see if I was getting enough decent air if I was in the truck a long time. And I haven't totally tested it out because I actually need to be in the truck for like hours to really see how high the CO2 goes. But I'll tell you one thing, it goes higher than 1,000 parts per parts per, what is it? ppm, it's parts per, what does the M stand for? Anyways, it goes higher than 1,000, so it could be an issue. I was trying to see if I needed to crack the window and how much that would help, and etc. Okay, so million. It's M is million, parts per million. Okay, so 1 week ago, I got my meter in the mail, and I immediately plugged it in and started testing everything. What's the ppm for carbon dioxide in my room? What is it outside? What is it in the truck? And at that time, and I had done this before, but I verified by looking up the OSHA approved parts per million. Okay, so at that time, it said that 2,000 parts per million was the limit for 8-hour exposure. And it seemed a little high because 1,000 to 2,000 could still have side effects already. So I'm thinking, well, okay, so they're saying 2,000 for the 8-hour exposure. So I know that people online had put their little meters up under their mask and found higher than 2,000. So they had been on there saying, this is, you know, look, the OSHA doesn't approve this over 2,000 and blah, blah. And I don't know if those videos still exist now where they say that specific thing, because now I look at it today because I wanted to see more info past 2,000, and I couldn't find any of that info that I found last week. It says 5,000 now. So 5,000 is now the parts per million for an 8-hour exposure, according to OSHA. It's 5,000. So now I'm nowhere near 5,000. And, I would say this is some kind of weird internet psyop, but we've seen so much with the Mandela that, I looked at like a 2006 recommendation. This one's revised 1990. It says 5,000. They all say 5,000 for the 8-hour limit now. So see, here it is, 5,000 parts per million as an 8-hour time-weighted average. The other thing is now there's all this yak about dry ice. I looked at these so many times over the last months because of the whole mask thing. There was never any mention of dry ice, but now it's like, oh, if dry ice is whatever, not drying, sublimating, whatever dry ice does, dissipating into the air, that can really cause the parts per million to get high, just like nothing else really does but that now, apparently. So we got to worry about dry ice. There was never any talk about dry ice on any of this stuff, and now it's like everywhere. So I think this is probably a Mandela. I know it changed. I am 100% positive. It was nowhere near 5,000 last week, and now it is 5,000. So good luck getting up to 5,000 ppm. I would be paranoid to say that, like, is this because of the masks and the government is trying to make the masks look safer by changing this? I guess it could be because I don't have anything written. So if any of you guys have like the OSHA standards, like written down, like a hard copy, you might want to check them. Does it say 5,000 or 2,000? I'm betting it's a Mandela just because it's so thorough and I can't find any information on 2,000, and even PDFs looks like they say 5,000 now. So, I don't know. Did we just get better at breathing carbon dioxide? I don't know. Is OSHA more crooked in this timeline, and you almost have to die before you reach the exposure limit? I don't know. We've definitely seen that the gas measurements in the atmosphere have changed drastically for many of us. So I don't know. Anyway, I was just laughing today. Just look at Wisconsin Department of Health. Really? 2,000 for the 8-hour thing? Let's see if I can find that. 2,000. Wait, what was it for Washington Department of Health? Washington Department of Health. CO2 limit, OSHA limits. Not monoxide, we're looking at dioxide. All right, I'm just going to spell it out. Carbon dioxide. Maybe I'll just do OSHA. Washington State Occupational. What is the OSHA standard for CO2? All right, that's the one I already got. Must include carbon dioxide. Washington EDU is still exposure 5,000 ppm. Drowsiness may occur at 10,000 ppm. See, like for me, it was like 3,000 was drowsiness, like last week. School. All right, still says 5,000 there. So 2,000 was the point where you might feel side effects. I think is what they're saying now. It was 1,000 for me, but that area is a little gray area. But as far as I can tell now, the 8-hour exposure limit is 5,000 now. And I specifically looked up OSHA last time. According to Dutch law, not allowed above 1,200. Have you looked it up just now, though? Because it changed a week ago for me, so. Somebody's complaining about the anti-vax stuff. I don't think I even said one thing about the anti-vax stuff the whole day today. Okay, well, whatever. I don't know. I'm not finding that one from Washington, so all right, Washington Department of Health, no OSHA. Because Department of Health isn't OSHA, so that's probably not the right way to put it. It's monoxide. Nutritional. Yeah, I'm not really finding it. Just make sure you're not looking at monoxide. That's one thing I've been very careful of, though, so I have not made that mistake. In fact, I don't even know what the monoxide ones are. What is the source of... No. Okay, well, I don't know. If you find something, give me a link. All right, I will go on to other things and I'll check back with you guys. All right, so talked a lot about penguins. So this one is a new one. Now on the front page, there's this yellow penguin that somebody found. I just didn't have a lot of good visual things to put as a thumbnail, so they found this funky yellow penguin. I think I've covered penguins are been very weird. Never seen before a yellow penguin spotted in South Atlantic. Young Adams wildlife photographer claims he captured images of never before seen penguin. It was amongst a colony of 120,000 king penguins living in a remote South Georgia island. All right, so it's supposedly a yellow version of a king penguin. Just funky coloration. I don't know. I think we'll see more and more weird penguins, but we already are seeing more and more weird penguins. So this is another weird penguin that I didn't have in my old timeline. It's from New Zealand. It's only exists in New Zealand. It's called yellow eye. One thing that is interesting is I think this is one that we're going to see more color changes, because if you look at it, the head is starting to get kind of green on the top. The mouth is getting, the beak is getting a lot of orangish, pinkish on it. And the head is like, some of the photos show this funky like hair thing going on these things. So I don't know if this is a young one or what, but there's like something weird going on with these penguins. So I didn't have weird penguins on I didn't have any penguins in New Zealand for me, but so this one is called yellow-eyed. I think we just keep an eye on it, pardon the pun, for the coloration, because I think this one is developing. So of course it's like an endangered species that only lives on New Zealand right now. That will probably change over time. I still can't believe penguins live in a jungle in the desert. I know. It's crazy to see them. Then they have all these stories with them collecting rocks and stuff. Actually, that's one that I'm going to cover later. Because they used to just be on the snow, so there was no like collecting rocks and building rock nests and stuff. Blue lions. Well, I think the blue lions are still unverified rumor, right? And then they were actually like gray. What are blue lions? Not student houses. Unfortunately, now there's a whole bunch of commercial garbage. Are blue lions real? Let me just see if there's been any more serious spottings of them. This video is fake. Okay. Right, I'm not seeing anything. Google, as surprise, surprise, sucks even worse than the last time I was looking at it. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I thought it said lions, but it wasn't talking about lions. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Okay. So yeah, the last I checked, they're just kind of rumored to have existed, but there's no real evidence. And then there's a couple fake videos. So that looks like what we're still at. But yeah, I didn't have any recollection of blue lions. I agree with you there. Also, there's other weird lions, and the ligers are getting really big. The tiger lion crossbreeds are getting like bigger and bigger. So the lore has been that when they crossbreed, like the chemical that tells them to stop growing is not really present, so they get big. But they're getting bigger like every shift. They're like huge now. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so this is kind of a tangent one. This one was brought to my attention by a commenter of the name Funny, Funny. So basically he or she made a comment that Ebola showed up in Guinea again. Okay, so I kind of covered this before, but so there's a couple things I noticed about Ebola. First of all, I've covered this before. The death rate, I remembered being like 99 to 100%. But now it's only 70 to 90%. So it's not as bad as it was. But they've had a vaccine now since 2014, which I say, no way, Jose. So that means that the last big outbreak was controlled by a vaccine in this timeline. They've been using the vaccine since 2014 to 2016. And then it got full approval a couple years later. So the last big outbreaks were all controlled with vaccines now. That was just not the case. They just would like isolate the people and hope it didn't spread. But now they have the vaccine. Demonstrated to be safe and effective for preventing EVD infection. And there's 4 different kinds of Ebola now. There used to be only 1. So what they do is if it breaks out, they just vaccinate like everybody nearby. Okay, so that is a Mandela for me. They did not control it with vaccine before. The other thing is when I looked into the new Ebola, 2021, it said that it was in Guinea. I'm like, Guinea? I've heard of New Guinea, but I don't know what the heck Guinea is. 2021 Ebola outbreaks in Guinea in the DRC. So Democratic Republic of Congo, a lot of people don't remember that, but apparently Guinea is another country now in Africa. Now, I do remember New Guinea, an island that wasn't in Africa, but I don't remember there being a country called Guinea. So formerly French Guinea, or Guinea, I'm assuming it's Guinea, Guinea. So it was formerly French Guinea, and now it's Guinea. And it's existed since 1958 as Guinea. So it's not like a new country that we didn't know about. It's old. Old for me, anyway. There's also another country called Guinea-Bissau that existed since 1973. I've never heard of Guinea-Bissau, B-I-S-S-A-U. And then there's Equatorial Guinea since 1968. Now, Equatorial Guinea, I think, is a little older, Mandela. I think I started hearing about it like a year ago, Equatorial Guinea. So there's 3 Guinea countries now. There's this Guinea, then there's Guinea-Bissau, and then there's Equatorial Guinea. So for me, there was only New Guinea, which was an island, and that is now, that's part of another country, so it's not its own country, but I don't know. So I'm calling baloney on all 3 of those Guineas as countries, like as standalone countries. So I kind of said this before, a lot of times when stuff shows up in the reality, it'll be through some kind of disaster. So like a bunch of islands showed up over by Cuba when the hurricane came through, and hurricane clobbers blah blah island, and we're like, huh? What island? We never heard of it. Okay, so this one kind of follows the pattern that so Ebola shows up in Guinea. I'm like, Guinea? What's that? I never heard of that country in Africa. So I'm calling Mandela on it, and it fits the pattern. I vaguely remember British Guinea, but apparently this one never existed. So I don't know. There's a lot of Guineas, but not a British. So Guinea was formerly French Guinea. You can't make this stuff up. Well, you guys have a lot of wind or something? You guys keep talking about wind. It's been pretty quiet over here in South California, Southern California. It would be hard to genetically modify animals into blue. Well, I think the Mandela can do it. Oh, so you guys are getting demon winds up north, maybe? It's real quiet over here. We've had a lot of weird wind this year. Definitely more extreme than normal. I mean, normally we'll have some high winds like once every couple of years, but there's been like 3 or 4 of them this year. One of them hit right when they had the tents out for outdoor dining. So that really sucked because a lot of people had their tent investments just destroyed, just crushed. Because the winds kicked in late at night when everybody was at home. So they weren't able to run out there and save their tents. And then we had one a couple weeks ago. The other thing weird about the wind now, and I think I've said this before, is that it doesn't come onto the ground as much. Like it'll be really high winds and I'll hear the trees flailing and all this racket. And I'll walk out there and my hair won't move. Like even though it's 30, 50 mile an hour wind, almost none of it impacts me on the ground. And that didn't used to be the case. It used to be if there was high winds, my hair would be slamming in my eyes and I'd be, like that. But it's like it gets blocked by obstacles easier now. But even when I go down to the street, there's still, pretty far from the houses, there's still not wind on the ground. So, I mean, maybe it'll come down in the desert, but something's funny about it. It's acting differently. There's something erupting in Mexico or South America. What do you mean by erupting? So I don't know, what's natural anymore. We don't, I don't know what to say, because it's definitely not what we used to see, but maybe it is natural for here. It's kind of tricky. All right, so, okay, so it was funny that the person that goes by the term funny noticed the Ebola in Guinea, and then I just noticed all those other Mandelas after that. That's how it is. I'm like, what's Guinea? Wait, what's this vaccine? Oh, wait. Whole bunch of Mandelas. Okay, so now we're going to get into the big strip of the ones that Mark Tyus discovered for this week. Very good finds. So I've covered these before, the ice eggs, but I don't remember them being called eggs. I'm trying to remember what they called them, but it wasn't like, I think it was balls or something. But now they're calling them ice eggs. So I've covered them before, but they're just kind of up a notch. They're definitely, first of all, they were all kind of dirty and kind of gungy balls, but now they're all like shiny, sparkly balls. And there's different colors of them and different sizes. So these washed up in Finland, these ice eggs. There's a lot more of them. That used to be just like a third of this many in the past ones I was able to dig up. So these are kind of developing, is what I would say. Rare weather in Finland, thousands of eggs. These are big ones. There seems to be just a lot of images I don't recall seeing last time. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that. That one's still growing. Okay. I got more bee ones now, like bees, like the honeybees. So, this one's from Mark Tyus again. Yes, he found this one. So, bee bridges, he called them, but I looked it up and it's actually called festooning. So, like I said, we have several hives that we maintain. We also have a wild hive that we can't get rid of out of the house because they keep going back in there. It's in the wall. And so we've been dealing with bees for years and years, and I have never seen this. So apparently, now I've seen them all clump onto each other in a big ball, you know, like they'll just hold on to each other. But now they form like ants do, like ants. And I'm trying to think, even ants, I don't think did that 30 years ago, but they've been doing it for a while. So they now do this thing where they hook in like a chain, and they can chain across even multiple feet of and they call it festooning. And so they said that they have little hooks on the ends of their feet so that they can hook in like this, and hook long distances. And so the current story is they have no idea why they do it. Is it to measure the area, or is it to somehow improve their honey production, or nobody knows. I'm sure we'll find out not too much longer. Festooning is the name given to the way honeybees hang together in a lacework pattern, leg to leg, between the frames of combs in their hives. So I've never seen this before. I don't spend a lot of time poking in our hives because that's not my job to take care of them. But the one who does take care of them, he didn't know about this either, and he's been doing bees for like decades. But supposedly this is a thing they always do now. So acts as self-made scaffolding, promoting stretching of the abdomen, which aids in wax production. So that's one theory. Stretching of the abdomen aids in wax production. But then there's other research that says that they seem to not produce any extra wax when they do that. So I don't know. Weird. Anyway, so bees continue to evolve. All right, here's another story we covered, but it has changed. Okay, so Mark Tice mentioned he did not remember electrocuting an elephant, like Thomas Edison electrocuted an elephant. I do remember it, but not from way back. I do remember covering this maybe 6-8 months ago or something, that Thomas Edison electrocuted an elephant and taped it in an attempt to prove that alternating current was dangerous. So Tesla was the one that was promoting alternating current, and Edison was promoting direct current. Well, actually, direct current is much more dangerous than alternating current. But Edison was trying to lie and say the reverse by killing this elephant with alternating current. Well, the story has kind of evolved now, because in the last time I checked, it was just that one elephant he did. But now apparently the story is that he toured all over the country killing animals. Okay, so, and the first story with the elephant was that the elephant had killed somebody and it was a mean elephant and they were going to put it down anyways. So Edison volunteered to put it down with electric current, since they were going to put it down anyway. But now the story is that he toured all over the country, electrocuting animals, dogs, cats, horses, and even an elephant in front of audiences in order to make Tesla's alternating current look bad. So I don't remember this whole thing where he toured the country and killed all these different animals. So that has definitely upgraded into the ick zone. All right, so, and then Mark Tice found this one also. So Mark Tice found the electrocuting elephants one, but I noticed the upgrades one on that one. So this one is a very good one that Mark found. Shiva at CERN. All right, so it looks different with little Shiva. Dun, dun, dun. See if I can make it smaller. So there's a new change. I'm not 100% sure I would have noticed this, but Mark, once he pointed it out, I don't disagree. All right. I'm going to move my head back to the bottom right. So I'll be over there so you can see it. So what looks different on Shiva? And since I'm giving you this image that's not very clear, you can kind of guess that it's not going to be some tiny little thing. So there's a hint. Don't like scaffolding, do whatever I have to avoid it. It was an absolute have to work on job site. Yeah, um, I don't like setting up scaffolding. I'm so lazy. I'd rather slap a ladder up there. But if somebody else wants to do all the work of putting up scaffolding, I'll certainly be happy to stand on it. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to do the testing on the CO2 levels under the mask, but I just didn't get around to it. Mine is not really well designed for that because it doesn't have a little intake tube. I didn't pay for a really expensive one. So I'm going to have to stuff the whole monitor up in there. It's not really big, but I expect it'll be like 2,000 or 3,000 ppms like everybody else found. Only ants could make a bridge. Yeah, well, I don't remember ants like 20 years ago, but I started hearing about ants like maybe 5 years ago could do that. But not bees. Oh, crazy wind at a Joshua Tree. Palm Springs. I-10. Well, I-10 does get a lot of winds, but so I can't say on that because I don't live there. I do know that when I drive on there, it's not unusual to get a bunch of wind in Palm Springs, and that's why they have all those wind farms. But you have to tell me if it's crazy, crazy wind, because they do sometimes shut down the freeway even for that wind. So I have to take your word for it on that because I don't know how bad it gets over there. I know it's windy, but... Okay, so what's up with the Shivas? The arms, I'm not sure on that. Okay, so it's basically this. It's this plaque. He doesn't remember that plaque, and neither do I. A big old, shiny, big, fat plaque. The arm might be a little higher. I don't know. This one might be a little lower. I can't swear on that one. I might be wrong. But this plaque. Let me dig up what that says too. Plaque. All right. So apparently the plaque has the whole thing is a gift from India, and so it says it in like the India script, and then it says in the English underneath. The embodiment of all virtues, the creator of all cosmic universe, the king of dancers who dances the Ananda something in the twilight. I salute thee. Presented by Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. So I've read most of that, but not the whole thing, because who the heck knows if it's some kind of spell. So I left off a couple words just to be on the safe side. Shiva's leg was not that twisted. Oh yeah, is her leg kind of sticking out a little? Or his leg. I keep forgetting it changed gender. Duh. Oh yeah, it does look a little more pointy, doesn't it? I think we covered last time that oh yeah, that this bangle looks slipped down the foot quite a bit. I do think that it might be that it's turned out a little. It looks like the toe is like, yeah, it does. You're right. It does look a little different there. Just the angle of the foot and stuff. Almost looks like this foot is a little farther forward also. There's a little bit of an imbalance going on there. It kind of looks like like if you try to do this, you'd fall on your butt. Oh, one other thing I did notice was there's a little something on the pants here, like a little bumble, and I don't know what it is, but it wasn't there before. But minor stuff. Just this plaque, though, we don't remember. And ironically, there is actually another little plaque thing way over here that's like a little stand-up thing, and that was all there was. And you don't really need to have that if you have this, but I don't know. Anyway, good find. Check Shiva's right leg. It was not that much twisted. Yes, I do agree with you, Shari. I do think it used to be more like this, and now it's more like that. How many hands? I think there's still 4. This one here. Yeah, four hands. That would be a trip if that changed again. Edison tried to make a phone to talk to the dead. I have not heard that before. Okay, so where are we here? Got that. Okay, speaking of penguins. Okay, so the first I ever heard about the penguins and the stones was that the males had to build these rock nests. Doesn't sound very fun. Like, why even have a nest made out of rocks? But the males would build these and attract the females. And then I heard, sometimes the males steal from each other. They steal rocks from the neighbor's nest instead of getting their own. Or when the neighbor goes out to find one, then they'll steal some of those. Okay, so that was all there was the males would steal from each other. Well, suddenly now, I've got to see who found this one. Yes, this is Mark Tyus again. So now apparently another batch of them, the Adele, I think they call it Adele penguins. That was not in my timeline, that whole species. But so now they're saying that the females will prostitute themselves for stones. So they'll go out to bachelor males who apparently the story is that the bachelor males make nests anyway. And since they have no offspring, they end up with really big nests because they got nothing better to do. And they exchange the fun for a stone. So supposedly the fun lasts only a very short period of time, and then they can grab a stone and they go and build their nest with it. So these Adele or Adele, I mean, I assume that's an accent mark there. Prostitute for stones. And so I'm like, well, that's just like this timeline, isn't it? Then they said some kind of mumbling about chimpanzees doing something too, like that. And I don't remember chimps doing that like that either. I don't even want to look into it, frankly, because it's just like, But this timeline is just, I actually found a couple other things, but they're this week, but I don't even want to cover them because they're just like porn stuff. It's just like too Okay, so yeah, some stuff I just don't cover because I just don't want to put it on the channel. But let's just say these are not the only I'd rather not see it Mandelas for this week. All right, this one is from John Kennedy, commenter on the channel. This one's been flopping around for a while, but I just didn't really put it on. But he brought it up, and then I think about it, and I just realized I was totally missing something. Okay, so we've kind of covered before, there's all these, changes in the Bible because, wait, they just translated it wrong. So, of course, for decades and decades, they always said Jesus was a carpenter. But now they're saying, oh, no, the proper translation is a builder. He's a builder. And then they're saying all of the buildings in his area were made out of stone. And so he was probably actually a stonemason. He may have known how to do wood, but very few of the houses were wood in that era, supposedly in his area. So they're saying he was a stonemason now. And I find that very interesting just because of the Masons, the Masons and the whole cult thing. Stonemason has a certain, I don't know, it's got a certain belief system around it. And now when they're saying that he was a stonemason, I just find that very, very suspicious. So that one was found by Matthias again. No, it was found by John Kennedy. John Kennedy. So good find, good find. Oh, and the yellow penguin that I had on the thumbnail, that was found by Jay Emblin. So good find on the yellow penguin. Thank you, Jay Emblin. Now that I got to it, I saw. See, that's what happens when I go by memory. All right. I can remember this stuff, but I can't remember who told me. All right, this one is by Mark Tyus again. So he does not remember. Chill. Aeon Black Dolphin. So they have this Chilean black dolphin. It looks almost totally black. It actually has a little bit of supposedly whitishness under here, but it's kind of like a gray white, so it makes it look like it's white. So they're only in Chile, also known as the black dolphin. Only found off the coast of Chile. Okay, so I don't remember that one. I don't remember one being almost black. But then I also found this one while I was looking, because that's how the Mandelas are. You just find one and then you find more. So then I found this one, which I certainly don't remember. I almost made this the thumbnail, but I already had a thing of dolphins. I don't remember this hourglass dolphin, which looks like this. So, I don't know, more and more weird dolphins all the time. It's not really loading very well, but, yeah, anybody ever saw that before? I don't think so. Oh, that one's a weird one. What one is that? Whoops, I did it wrong. I'm using a different browser because the other one was collapsing a lot. I think I need to uninstall and reinstall. All right, there's that. First identified in 1824. As recently as 2010, there had only been 6 of them examined by researchers. Okay, so very rare, meaning they're very new to the timeline. The black and white coloring of the hourglass dolphin lets sailors refer to it as the sea cow. They travel in groups between 5 and 10, but as large as 60. They are small, like 6 feet. This guy, what, he's 8 feet tall if it's a 6 foot. Sighted as north as Chile, but are mostly seen south of New Zealand and between the tips of South America. So they're just way on the south, basically. This is one rare animal that doesn't appear to be in danger of extinction. In fact, it's estimated that there are as many as 140,000 of them. Now, I don't know what's up with this photo, because that photo, it doesn't have all the side markings that the other ones do. And then it's got like these black lips. It's extra weird. The other ones have the black lips, but that one's missing the whole. It's like this one, but minus this side thing. So, they slapped that photo in, but then they don't explain what's going on here. Okay, I think that's it. So I don't know what's going on with those, with that one alternate looking one. There's not very many photos of those. They're supposed to be 140,000, and they're not in danger of extinction, but yet we have almost no photos. So I don't know. That looks like normal ones there. Okay, so anyway, there's that one. I think soda made me fat and diabetic. Well, it probably didn't help any. I don't know. High fructose corn syrup seems to do a number on people. Fructose in general. If you don't drink it for a while, you won't like it. I found that true except for root beer and grape. I don't like any of the others, though. I used to drink Diet Coke and I was super addictive. And I was like super addicted to Diet Coke. What was that, like 5 or 6 years ago? I gave it up. It was actually shockingly hard to stop drinking it because I drank it multiple times a day since I was like 15. So, you know, decades and decades of drinking that stuff. And I literally, like, if I didn't have any, I would have to stop at 7-Eleven and get it. And I was in line at a liquor store because I was going over to somebody's house for dinner and they might not have Diet Coke. And I'm like, I got to have Diet Coke. So I stop at the liquor store and I'm waiting in line. And there's all these like alcoholics buying alcohol. And then me with my Diet Coke. And it just suddenly occurred to me that this is ridiculous. And I can't live a day without Diet Coke. And there's something freaking wrong with me. So I gave it up. But it was very hard to give up. And I craved it for months. It was insane. Once you stop drinking it and then you taste it again, you realize it tastes awful. You only taste good if you're addicted to it. If you break the addiction, then it starts tasting awful like it. So yeah, you probably tasted it and it tasted awful, so you didn't drink it. But if you kept drinking it, then you would be addicted and then it would start to taste good. It's like smoking like that. You know, smoking, when the first time you smoke, it's hideous. But once you get addicted, I'm not an expert on smoking, but this is what people say. But once you get addicted, you enjoy it. Well, Diet Coke is the same way. I was like that about Pepsi Max. And I will tell you, it was not the caffeine, because I would drink the caffeine free and that was fine. It wasn't the caffeine that I was addicted to. I would still, whatever it was, I think it was that aspartame or aspartame or however you pronounce that. It is been discovered to be a slight stimulant to the brain, so. But that fructose, yeah, that fructose does something to people sometimes too. The liver just doesn't do well with a lot of fructose. In fact, if you have to like pee a lot, assuming it is not some kind of prostate issue, you might find that if you totally cut way back on fructose, and you can get candies that have nothing but sucrose in them, so that it's a regular sugar but not the fructose, like Smarties, that kind of stuff. if you have to have a candy fix, just eat those only, and you may find that your problem will go away. It takes about 3 weeks. 3 weeks to clear out your liver. All diet products are by far worse than normal versions. Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust them, certainly. I'll tell you that it was very hard to give them up, but I didn't really notice any change in my health after I did it. I'm not going back because it can't be good for you, and it took me like months to get over the addiction. And even like 6 months later, I would still suddenly crave them sometimes, and that's creepy. And so I'm like, I don't need to go back to that. After doing all that work, I ain't going back. Plus, once you stop and you're not addicted, they taste awful. So it's funny because your mind remembers them tasting really good because when you're addicted, they do. So you're like, oh, yeah, it tastes so good. Then you taste it, you're like, bleh. It doesn't taste like you remember because you're not addicted anymore. Okay, so where are we? Dolphins. Okay, here we go. All right, we covered half of this, but it seems like it's changed a little. Okay, so way back, way back, a couple years ago, I covered this crop milk that the birds feed. So the birds now have like a milk that they feed, not all of them, but some of them that they feed their chicks. So in my day, it was just like insects and stuff like that they would. And I really thinking way back to when I was young, I just remember them feeding insects to the young. But then at some point along the line, I heard that they regurgitate food for the young, right? So now some birds have this thing called crop milk where they produce like a milk-like substance, but in their throat, and they give that to the young. So I do remember flamingos being one of these that did the crop milk, but now the crop milk is like bright red, like blood. So the story is that like there's a myth that they feed blood to their offspring. But it's not really blood, they say. It's crop milk, but it looks just so gross now. So this image was kind of making the rounds because it looks like he's stabbing this other bird, but really he's just drizzling crop milk on their head. And it's just weird because like, I mean, the flamingos get pink, but this is like bright red and it's exactly the color of blood, which is like super disgusting. Video of flamingos feeding their young ones goes viral. Netizens amazed. So there's that image again. So this image went viral. Like nobody ever saw the crop milk until recently, apparently. Seems a little suspicious. Well, here's a kind that I have not seen before. These Caribbean flamingos are really red. Now, I don't remember any flamingos being red like that. So I think the crop milk has basically turned like blood red. So again, creepy, icky stuff going on in the timeline these days. And there's only a few more, and they aren't any more fun. I read some people mention they just discovered the word sandlands is used in the English language of some English-speaking country. Sandlands? I've not heard of sandlands. The word sandlands? How would crop milk be red? Okay, I'm assuming they're going to say it's the same thing that makes them red. Is Flamingo crop milk red? Let's see if we can find it. Let me just see what the story is about them being pink, because it was some kind of their food had red in it before, and so that would make them pink as they grew. The red and blue-green algae they consume is loaded with beta-carotene, an organic chemical that contains a reddish-orange pigment. The mollusks and crustaceans flamingos snack on contain similar pigment-packing carotenoids. All right, this is what I remember, the mollusks and crustaceans. I don't remember anything about them eating algae. I remember them eating mollusks and crustaceans that had red in them. So I guess the carotenoids somehow accumulate in the crop milk. I mean, but look at that. It's totally disgusting. The fats are then deposited in the new feathers as they grow, and the baby flamingo color slowly shifts to pink. So for me, it wasn't until they were adults, like at about 2 years old, that they were very pink. Even the 1-year-olds weren't. Maybe it starts earlier now that they feed this to the youngs, but so they're not really saying it, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the story because it's kind of logical sounding. Bird milk. Yeah, I covered that a while ago. Crop milk, but yeah, bird milk. Actually, there's also the what do you call those things? Cockroach milk. Cockroaches make milk also now. I'm not joking. I have covered that one before too. Sandlands. So what's up with the word sandlands? I've not. Lands of sands. Sandlands. Definition. Personal projects of Tegan and Olivia Pasalacqua? I don't. Football player. I don't know. I'm not really finding sandlands. It's the aspartame and diet, so that's addictive. That was my feeling on the matter because it is like a cellular neuron stimulant. That's good, Eva, getting over any addiction. I was actually shocked at how hard. I'll tell you, in comparison, caffeine is like a walk in the park. I can, but I've never had, caffeine doesn't have a real strong effect on me anyway, but I can give up, I can drink caffeine every day for months, and then in 2 days I'll get a slight headache, and then I'm over it. I'll take an aspirin for that day I have the headache, and I'm done. That easy. And I'm not really addicted to it now because I don't really eat much that has it, but so yeah, I don't know what it was about it, but I've met other people that had a hard time giving up the Diet Coke too. It seems like it was the Coke that was the strongest too. Like, I don't know, I would drink the Pepsi and it just wasn't quite as good. It was better than nothing, but and the other person I know, it was Diet Coke also. She had to have the Diet Coke. So we were like addicted together. She spent a lot of time getting off. She like fell off the wagon multiple times. She said she was really crabby. And then people told her just at work, just drink the Diet Coke and quit being so crabby. So yeah, something going on with that. All right. This one. Okay. None of these are that fun. That's why I'm like, ugh. Okay. So, flamingos in the blood. That was Mark Tias. Chilean black dolphin was Mark Tias. So this one, I believe, is the last one for Mark Tias. He didn't link this specific one, but when I was digging around for it, I pretty much found this one. You know, the stories of our past, I've noticed, are just getting grosser and grosser. I'm like, are they just making this stuff up? Did they actually have evidence for it? This one is from history.com, though, so one would imagine it's not too wrong, but... Okay, so what he found was that there was this story that the women, and when they wore the corsets and stuff, it was like too hard to get them off, so they would just instead of like disrobing to use the bathroom, they would just like poop in the hallway. And I don't really see why, if you can't get your skirts off, you would make that choice, because, you know, in my old timeline, they'd say that they would go on chamber pots, and you can just hike your skirt over one of those easily. So in fact, it's probably easier to do that than to just go on the ground. But that's the story now, that people would just poop all over the place. So I actually, when I was looking, I thought it was really interesting, because we're looking at the Henry VIII photo, which many of us remember this guy having a giant turkey leg, and now he doesn't. And so the story is that people would just poop all over the hallways and like the stairways and just behind doors, instead of going in the chamber pots. And so that the place would become gross. And so that's one of the reasons they traveled a lot, because they would leave the palace, and then that would give the workers a time to clean everything. So they would go over to the neighboring palace and poop all over the place there, and then make that place disgusting. But then they would leave to the next one, and, you know, there's like 700 people, I guess, traveling around. And within days of royal parties settling in one palace or another, a stink would set in from poorly discarded food, animal waste, vermin, unwashed bodies, and human waste, which accrued in underground chambers. But also the hallways would become so caked with grime, constant fires. Let's see, and somewhere they talked about pooping in the overflowing chamber pots. I don't get that. Like, why wouldn't the servants just pitch those outside? Lice filled furniture. While paintings of Louis XIV's opulent court at Versailles showed royals clad in gorgeously embroidered garments, the odor of hundreds of garments that have never been washed. I mean, like, so what? They never washed the garments ever? All in one unventilated room. I've never heard that they never washed the garments. Let's see. Feces and urine were everywhere. Eleanor Herman, author of The Royal Art of Poison, says of royal palaces, some courtiers didn't bother to look for a chamber pot, but just dropped their breeches and did their business, all of their business, in the staircase, the hallway, or the fireplace. In 1675, a report offered this assessment of the Louvre Palace in Paris. On the grand staircases, behind the doors, and almost everywhere, one sees there's a mass of excrement. One smells 1,000 unbearable stenches caused by calls of nature, which everyone goes to do there every day. But apparently Henry VIII tried to fight this, waged a constant battle against the dirt, blah, 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 which was unusual for the time. The king slept on a bed surrounded by furs to keep small creatures and vermin away. The visitors were warned not to wipe or rub their hands on tapestries of the kings, whereby they might be hurted. Then there's another one. Amazingly, Henry was even forced to decree that cooks in the royal kitchen were forbidden to work naked or in garments of such vileness as they do now. I cannot imagine any cook choosing to work naked. I mean, you've got oil splattering, hot water. Nobody works naked in the kitchen. You're asking for burns. So again, we have this another story. I mean, we covered recently the story of the miners working naked. Now we've got the cooks working naked. This doesn't really make sense. And like they're saying that the women would just poop everywhere. I mean, like it can't be that hard to have extra chamber pots around. It just makes no sense to me. It just doesn't. I mean, there's... When the future Catherine the Great arrived in Russia from her family's relatively clean German court, she was shocked by what she found. It's not rare to see coming from an immense courtyard full of mire and filth that belongs to the hovel of rotten wood. I don't know. So it just kind of goes on and on. It's just not until the 19th century that standards of cleanliness and technological developments improve life for many people. I don't know. It's so gross, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, some of that stuff. Is it really that hard to find a pot, you know? Man, you guys are typing fast. I guess they didn't know. Well, you know, I remember them having chamber pots that they would just go in the pot and then a servant would take it outside and pitch it. I mean, is it that hard for them to create pots? I mean, wouldn't you just have a bunch of extra ones? I mean, you could even just fling it out the freaking window, you know? I mean, it's just like... Didn't we have there was bathrooms in some of the castles lately, which was a Mandela, but they're saying that there were insufficient amounts and they would get like overflowing at the bottom. But I just remember it being chamber pots all the way, but there was never any mention of the chamber pots not being sufficient. I can't imagine they don't have enough servants to like throw out the chamber pots. It just seems highly unlikely to me. Yeah, see, if it was just liquid, they could just pitch it outside. If it was poop, they could pitch it in the fire. I mean, you know, it's not that complicated. Burn the castle after the party's over. I mean, yeah, that's just so... I can't imagine anybody just going, like... Wouldn't the king be like, that's it? None of you people are allowed to poop around here? It's just craziness. I mean, you know, if I was the king, that would be the rule. The next person that poops in the hall is going to get a lashing, you know? I'm going to take away your properties. What, 3 weeks to detox? I would say that has been my experience, that if you drink a lot of fructose, if you cut back hard, like almost done, because remember, sugar is half fructose. So you can't be eating much sugar, like most regular sugar. So like a Diet Coke is half fructose. Even just table sugar is half fructose. So having no fructose, you got to put a little effort in, because if you have pie, that's the sugar in that's half fructose. But you can find candies that have no fructose. They're all sucrose. And sucrose does not impact the liver as badly. Now, if you have diabetes, then sucrose also will still be a problem for blood sugars. But if your sugar blood maintenance is still decent, then you can do the sucrose. So like if you look, there's like Pixie Sticks, what else? Smarties. There's a number of things that just do like maltodextrin, which is like sucrose. So they're not quite as sweet as the pure sugary fructose ones, but they're plenty sweet enough. And so if you really have the sugar craving, you can just eat those and not have the fructose. So if you say you have fatty liver and it's not like really bad, it takes about 3 weeks to totally clear that out. And that has been the time frame I've noticed for it working, that you'll just, I think it really is the liver. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but it just seems like 3 weeks without the fructose and you're feeling better and you don't have to pee all the time. So I would just suggest people try it if they got to pee a lot. Clean out that liver. You know, we eat so much fructose now, and like if you look 100 years ago, then the daily fructose intake was small, and there would be seasons when there'd be a lot of fruit, but it was very seasonal, and then the winter, not that much. So even with the fruit and dried fruit, it was nowhere near the amount of fructose we're slamming down. And some people's livers just can't handle that. It gets fatty, and then you drink a lot of water. Everybody died by age 30. You know, they've totally changed that story now. They're saying that there was a lot of childbirth deaths, but the people who lived past childbirth lived pretty long. No wonder disease was bad in the old days. I don't know. You know, they had better food and stuff, so maybe they weren't that bad. That's actually something that I almost was going to cover, but maybe I will cover. I can't swear this one is a Mandela, but I remember polio being a lot worse than the story that we're getting now for polio. I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover this because I'm not 100% on this one, but okay, so polio, you know, we're hearing all the time about the polio vaccine and this and that. So I just remember when you get polio, it was really bad. But now the story is only 0.5% of cases have any serious problems. About 70% of cases had like no symptoms hardly at all. And then some people would get like kind of ordinary sick, like a flu. And then only 0.5% affect the central nervous system. And there is muscle weakness resulting in flaccid paralysis. So that's what you classically think of as polio. This can occur over a few hours or days. The weakness most often involves the legs, but may commonly involve the muscles of the head, neck, and diaphragm. But even these 0.5%, many of these people fully recover. Now, I don't remember that being the case where you would recover. I remember when you got the paralysis, you were screwed. And those with muscle weakness, about 2 to 5% of children and 15 to 30% of adults die. So that's 2 to 5% or 15 to 30% of this 0.5%. So that would be like 0.1 or 2%, basically, depending on if you're looking at children or adults. So it was actual problems with this were really unusual as far as the percentage of people that really had these really bad problems. For all those infected, up to 70% infections, there are no symptoms. Another 25% people have minor symptoms such as fever and sore throat, and up to 5% have headache, neck stiffness, pains in the arms and legs. These people are usually back to normal within 1 or 2 weeks. And then this is another one I don't remember. Okay, so they're talking a lot about long COVID, but now we've got like this long polio. Years after recovery, post-polio syndrome may occur with a slow development of muscle weakness, similar to that which the person had during the initial infection. All right, and then how it spread. I I don't know if this is Mandela or not. I do not remember how polio was spread. So now they're saying it's basically spread through fecal matter entering the mouth. So how did it spread even that much? It just seems like hygiene would have totally solved polio. You wouldn't really need a vaccine if you just washed your hands. Maybe spread by food or water containing human feces and less commonly from infected saliva. Okay, so no kissing and wash your hands. Of course, the one problem is that a bunch of these people have like no symptoms, so you wouldn't know that they were typhoid Mary. Those who are infected may spread the disease for up to 6 weeks, even if no symptoms are present. So I don't remember this whole asymptomatic spread thing being a thing, but now it's a total thing. Okay, poliomyelitis has existed for thousands of years with depictions of the disease in ancient art. The virus that causes it was first identified in 1908. Major outbreaks started to occur in the late 19th century in Europe and the United States. In the 20th century, it became one of the most worrying childhood diseases in those areas. The first polio vaccine was developed in the 1950s by Jonas Salk. Okay, so that's another thing then. So polio has been around for like eons. I just remember it being a thing, you know, like for grandmas and before, like those few generations. But now it's been around for like ever, and nobody was really worrying about it back then, and then suddenly they did in the 19th century. That story seems kind of strange too. I don't know. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover it, but there you go. I don't know what to make of it all. It left a scar, the 4 dots of the polio shot. Yeah, see. Now, in my old timeline, polio was eliminated. And so they stopped giving the polio shot by the time I was born. So like in the 70s, there were no shots because polio was off the planet. And so there was no reason to vaccinate for it. So it's still around in this timeline. Also, my old timeline did not have a story where you would get polio from the vaccine. I'd never heard of that until the last 4 or 5 years. So like the vaccine they used live virus and they weren't killed enough. And so people get polio. So now there's, today's theme, wash your hands. Yeah. Just hearing about this week's Mandelas is enough to make you want to take a shower. So I don't know. In the 70s for me, there was no more polio shot because there was no more polio. And my dad was all upset about it because he wanted me to get the shot. And they're like, no, we're not doing it anymore. When I was young, if you had polio, it messed you up forever. Yeah, see, that's how I remember it. I just wasn't 100% on it. I'm kind of glad I brought it up. I don't know. What do you guys remember? But I just remember if you got it, it was like really bad, you know. And now it's like, 30% of 0.5% had a problem and everybody else was fine. Seems a little suspicious. That was another thing I ran into somewhere. Okay, so the naked cooks and the pooping in the halls. That was from Mark Tias. Actually, he found just that the story he found was that the women would poop in the halls because it was too much hassle getting out of their corsets and stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think it would be easier to go in a chamber pot and then just pull that chamber pot out and put it aside than to try to poop on the floor. As you poop on the floor, it's going to be really hard not to get poop all over your garments and stuff. If you put the pot under there, it's going to catch everything. So then you can just take as a female, I just don't understand that story. It makes no sense to me. I mean, I would just be totally wanting to have that pot. So, as somebody who camps all the time, pot is easier than the ground. Okay, so a couple of ones I found earlier today. So I found this thing called, this was on Reddit. There was a thing called a xenoma. Okay, so apparently now fish get like these fungal infections that grow into like these tumors that are kind of like a combo thing of the fish cells plus like, I don't know, they're like this weird tumor made out of they're made out of fungus. I don't know. I just haven't really heard of that before, but they're called xenomas. There's very few images of them, but this one is really gross. So this is like the underside of a fish. I don't really want to make it too much bigger. You don't need to see it, but there was another one that had like all these, it looked like fish eggs all under its tail, but they were all xenomas. But there's like very few images of those. I think we might see more of these coming down the chutes, unfortunately, but there's almost no images now. So I'm thinking it's new. So they don't act like, they act like this is really common, except for there's no freaking photos of it. That might be one there. Microsporidia. Yeah, microspora caused the xenoma. So this is a xenoma. So I do remember fungus growing on fishes, but it would just look like a white powdering. It didn't do tumors. I don't know. This timeline likes gross stuff. So now we have these disgusting fungus tumors. Oh, and I think that's it for me, because the other one was the OSHA thing, and I've already covered that. Okay, yeah, I think that's everything. Done! Just read and see what you guys are up to. Yeah, like I said, there's a couple other gross things, but I'm not even covering them because I'll just get like, I'll get censored if I cover those really gross ones. My parents never let us have the vaccine at school. Yeah, you know, my dad was the reverse. My dad was like a diehard believer in science and the vaccine. I'll tell you though, there weren't, I think my timeline, the vaccines might have been okay because there wasn't all the indications of trouble. And vaccines had actually eradicated a lot of illnesses, or at least around the time the vaccines came out, the illnesses were gone and off the planet and gone. And in this timeline, they're still around. So the whole immunity and everything is so different here. So yeah, my dad was always like, get the vaccines. And I also don't remember any side effects from any of them. Like other than, you know, I was a baby, so I was like, well, it hurts, but it's just like a little poke. But I didn't have any, you know, I never felt sick or anything after them. Now, I never really got them after, you know, I think I had a few, like one flu vaccine in my 20s, and that was the last one I've had. So quite some time. Mandatory polio shots. Really? Yeah, see, it was off my planet in my timeline by the 70s. It was gone. They gave us the sugar cube. See, I didn't have that either. The whole oral vaccine thing showed up for me, I think, in the 90s. I had never seen it before. And I only saw it in animals. They suddenly started giving it to my pets. Yeah, it was late 90s, I would say. I went in for, you know, you give your pets the shots every year, and I would go in for the shots. And suddenly they had this nasal one. And then I was like surprised, but they acted like it was no big whoop. You know, I thought they were going to, I go, oh, that's new. And they're like, huh? So looking back, could have been a Mandela. I was always nosy. See, in the sugar cube, I've never heard of any sugar cube vaccines before until recently. Some people got cancer from the shot. Yeah, I mean, it could be. There was no internet back then, but Yes, no, for me it was shots. The polio was shots. It's just different timelines. I just didn't have, it was all shots. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it just wasn't that big a deal in my old timeline. So you look here, then there's a lot of weird questions and issues with the vax in my old timeline. Though I even about 5, 6 years ago did kind of a deep dive for any evidence that vaccines were dangerous. Because I heard like the anti-vaxxer things was starting, and I really looked and I did not find much. I mean, I found some interesting stuff in that they did have some argument that a lot of the diseases were already diminishing and before the vaccine came out. And with polio, it would make sense because it looks like if you did a lot of hand washing and good hygiene, that alone should cut way back on any incidence of polio, because in this timeline, it's not airborne. So just good hygiene would really kick back on that. So I was interested in that at the time. I'm like, that's interesting, but I really wasn't sure either way. And that was about all they really had. But now, if you look, there's all this weird stuff going on with them. So, I mean, I think it just might depend on the timeline. As far as I knew. Okay, so for Fukushima, last I heard, they were just still pouring water on it and it was leaking out to the ocean, and they were trying to bin the water. For a while, they were trying to bin all the water, and then they said there's too much. We don't have enough bins, and so they were letting it leak out to the ocean. But by then I knew about the Mandela, and I was sort of like, I'm just not worrying about it anymore. I just, stuff just I just stopped worrying about a lot of stuff after the Mandela. Like, they dropped the two bombs on Japan, and I was told that no one could live there for 10,000 years, and then now people lived there. So these things just kind of magically fix themselves. That's why I'm not really so worried about them anymore. Reason we can't find info, they're scrubbing stories that connect to them. See, but that's the reverse of what I'm really seeing, is that all these new stories are there that have been there for decades that weren't there 5 years ago. There's, as much as they say they're scrubbing stories, and we keep seeing YouTube deleting stuff, yet somehow there's way more of it online overall, and I keep finding it, and I couldn't find anything 5, 8 years ago. Wait, if Jesus had a rich uncle and was a stonemason, yeah, yeah. See, I mean, like, of all things he could be, a mason. I mean, it just, I don't know. It's just very suspiciously too much like this Masonic thing, and I don't know. I don't know what I want to think about that, but it's kind of creepy. So, anyways, I'm pretty much done. So, what time is it? 2 hours. Sounds like a good cutting off time. So, try not to get sucked into the creepy too bad, you guys. And, try to think the good thoughts and not get sucked into the negative too much. I know it's kind of hard to do sometimes, but do your best. And I think I'm about done. So, this is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.